let's continue. Okay, next, methodology, research design, instrument, sampling design, and data analysis. For the research design, that you will use in investigating your topic. It can be quantitative, qualitative, descriptive, phenomenological, experimental. It can also be historical. Those are the popular research designs. Instrument is your survey tool. You will give this to your respondents, but in purposive communication, you will only prepare your instrument or your survey tool because you're not going to gather data from your respondents. Next, sampling design, the method that you will use in choosing your respondents. Is it random or purposive? Next, data analysis. This will be analyzed thematically. The data will be analyzed thematically. You create themes, and then for qualitative research, so if it is a qualitative research, the data will be analyzed thematically. Just like what we did in the review of related literature and studies, you created major headings or main ideas. These are the main topics in your research paper. If it is quantitative design, there's an okay, so there is another way of analyzing the data. Okay, next. Okay, if you don't have questions about the research proposal, we'll proceed with our discussion of an action research. What is an action research? What happened here? Okay, it's now visible. Okay, you can see it. An action research. This is short. Okay, Anna, you would like to say something? Okay. Let's continue. An action research is different from a detailed research paper because in a detailed research paper, there are 5 parts. Chapter 1, the problem and its background. Chapter 2, review of related literature and studies. Chapter 3, method of design. Chapter 4, presentation, analysis, and interpretation findings. Hi, Cayetano, what would you like to say?
Medyo maingay yung ano niyo po.
Yes?
Hindi po marinig.
Medyo maingay po sa background.
I cannot control it eh. Kasi I cannot ask them to stop because I don't own the place.
Ay, okay po.
I think there's an activity outside and I cannot ask them to stop just because we're having a class. Medyo mahirap yun. Okay, can you hear me now? Okay na. Okay, I apologize because my place is located along the road and there are activities outside. I think they are inviting people to participate in evangelical mission. I am in Manila. Anyway, can you hear me now? Okay, can you hear me now? So, let's continue. So there are 2 types of research paper that we present to our students or we present to the management or to our target respondents or to the target beneficiaries. The first is the detailed research paper. The detailed research paper is presented by undergraduate students who are already on their 4th year, on their last year. But in most institutions, what we present only an action research. Okay, just to tell you the difference between a detailed action research and an action research, a detailed research paper, Just to tell the difference between a detailed research paper and an action research. In a detailed research paper, there are 5 parts. Chapter 1, the problem and its background. Chapter 2, review of related literature and studies. Chapter 3, method of research. Chapter 4, presentation, analysis, and interpretation of findings. Chapter 5, summary of findings, conclusions, and recommendations. So there are 5 parts. In an action research, only 4 parts. Introduction, results, and discussion. Imran. I for introduction, M for method, R for results, D for discussion. We did not include any one letter A because that is just a conjunction. But the format, Imran. In academic institutions, if the students are working on a research paper and they are on the lower years, we don't require the students to submit a detailed action research. But on your last year, on your final year at Arellano University, you submit the detailed research paper. The advantage of working on an action research, you address the problem immediately. That is what the nomenclature suggests. Kaya siya action because we provide solution to the problem. It requires immediate attention and action. We need to resolve the conflict. That is an action research. All of research problems now deal with issues concerning the researchers, the beneficiaries. But if it is an action research, it's output oriented. You present uh, your program, you present your program to the management or to the beneficiaries. You will be enlightened about other aspects of action research if you will be exposed to the general concepts, perspectives, outcomes of action research, forms and varieties of action research, okay, the different models, which in your assignment will be illustrated and described. So you illustrate and describe the different action research models. I will also be explaining to you the steps that you have to go through when you work on your action research. Then there's another topic. After this, I'll discuss how you are going to write the research problems or the sub-problems. An action research is a process that improves things, places, events, or practice. First, okay, things. There are many observations that you can make when you visit Arellano University. What do you think are the things that have to be improved? Facilities should be also improve the materials that are provided for the students. How about the documents that we produce for our students? You can conduct an action research about those. Next, places. How can we provide a safe environment for our students? And events. What programs or activities will contribute to the development, holistic development of the students? Next, practice. This may include the policies implemented by Arellano University. It can also be the strategies that are utilized by teachers, how the stakeholders assist the learners in the academic institution. Those are interesting topics in action research. Problem solving education through change. We would like to witness the transformation of people in the academic institution. If we are looking forward to that, what are we going to do? What are we supposed to develop? Next, it is collaborative. This comes in two forms. Okay, the first form, you can work with members of the group. You brainstorm. Last time you have already done that. You have suggested topics, and you also discuss this with the members of your group. So that's collaborative. I am giving all the members of the group the liberty to inform me who among the members of the group are not cooperating or who are not doing their job. Next, how about if it is an individual work? Is it still possible to develop a collaboration when you work on your action research? If you are working alone, the answer is yes, because you involve your respondents. You need their response in gathering data about your investigation. You engage your respondents in your investigation. Action research is doing research on or about people. Active participation of uh, human resources is essential in an action research. As a matter of fact, an action research is about people and their circumstances. It is cyclical in the sense that if the results are not favorable, you go through the different stages again. You start all over again. You have identified the problem. What are the different steps in conducting research? Identification of the problem. You also gather data. Then you interpret your data. You present your findings. You interpret your data. You share your findings. You summarize the information, and you communicate the results to the management. If the results are not favorable and you were asked to conduct another research, let's say they are not satisfied with the way how you conducted the data. Okay, again, you must identify the problem, then gather data. After gathering data, interpret the data. After interpreting the data, you summarize your findings, then you present your findings to the concerned uh, people. You present the data to those who will be using your investigation. That makes action research cyclical. It's also linear because you cannot skip a process. I mentioned five steps. I mentioned five steps in conducting research. You cannot submit a paper to your research mentor if you have not participated in the brainstorming session. That happened 2 years ago when I handled purposive communication. The students didn't consult me about their problems. They didn't show me the specific questions. I also failed to evaluate or failed to see the instrument. Then, to my surprise, they were able to submit a comprehensive research paper. I found out that the research paper was adapted from another source because the students do not want to exert any effort in doing their research. So what they did, they just submitted to me the whole thing. It does not depict the linear aspect of research because if it is linear, you cannot skip any stage. It's practical and relevant. Why are we conducting research? We conduct research because we want to improve the quality of our lives. That was experienced by Mark Zuckerberg. Facebook is a product of research. It may not be an action research, but most researches today are action or output oriented. You present the outcome. You inform the panelists of your recommendation to solve the problem because all researches aim to solve issues. But in an action research, you do it in simplified manner. You don't have to submit the entire research paper. Action research is exploring, discovering, and seeking. Why do you have to do this? You want to find opportunities on how you can develop traits, how you can minister to others, how you can make your life meaningful, and how we can increase our employability. Those are some reasons why we explore, discover, and seek for personal and professional improvement. This is also a way to improve instructional practice. If it is about the academe and you are evaluating the performance of your teachers, we don't have the evaluation for teachers during virtual learning. It's also hard to measure the performance of the teachers during virtual learning. But if you are going to conduct a research about this, you will improve you can improve the results of your study can improve the performance of your teachers. I just remembered when somebody was asked to evaluate the senior high school program. In the middle of the presentation, the person was asked to stop revealing the results because the results revealed that the senior high school program is not effective. That was revealed in the study presented by one of the professors. In the middle of his presentation, he was asked to stop revealing the results because they can put the academic institution in a difficult situation. They could jeopardize the condition or the status of education at a particular university or in a particular university. We have to be open-minded. If the research paper will be presented to us and the results do not conform to our desires, let us use the results as a basis for decision making. Let us use the results as basis for decision making to improve instructional practice. Do you have questions about the general concepts? It's also conclusive. Sorry, I forgot to explain conclusive. It is conclusive because it is not a product of one's imagination that you can just take it for granted, just like what happened to a professor who presented the results of research to the management. It is conclusive because you have spent a lot of time looking for information related to this. You even ask your respondents to participate in your study. You included your review of related literature to strengthen your arguments in your paper and to support your analysis and interpretation. Therefore, the, the institution that will use your research paper plus must take the results seriously. Next, we have more perspectives about action research. Action research is a self-reflective inquiry. It's pragmatic, it's reflective, it's collaborative problem solving. It is reflective, self-reflective because the participants are involved in the study. Action research is undertaken by the participants in the study. Can you be the respondents? Yes. I have already done that when we assess the business English program of Arellano University. Uh, I had just simplified that so that I could submit an action research, but it's a detailed action research. The level of subjectivity may be high because the participants are included, but these are tolerable. These circumstances are tolerable because an action research presents problems encountered by the researchers themselves. It's pragmatic, it's experiential. It is learning by doing, in which a person identifies a problem, does something to resolve it, we look for the solution to the problem. How we see how successful the efforts are, and if not, this describes the cyclical nature of an action research. You can try again. You look for another problem, or you can modify your problem. If you don't want to identify another problem, you can modify the problem and then uh, find ways to solve the problem. You feel great when you determine the level of your success. You see how successful your efforts are. What is the recommendation? If you are not satisfied, go through the different stages again. It is reflective. What is the purpose? The purpose is to improve the situation. In the situation that I have shared earlier, do you think we are helping the institution? If those who are presenting their research paper will not be accommodated, it will be a problem. If the management is not open to those unfavorable results, we cannot be in a perfect organization. Remember that. We cannot be in a perfect organization. Now, how can we minimize the problem? To minimize the problem, let's conduct action research and reflect on the results. Let us not discourage people from telling us the truth, because those truths can be used as a basis for decision making. Number four, I apologize for the noise. They've been doing that for a long time already. Let's pray that I can still discuss the lesson despite the noise outside. It's a collaborative problem solving. The members of the group help one another in identifying the problem, gathering data, interpreting the results, summarizing the data, and presenting the data to the people concerned. But as I stressed earlier, it can still be collaborative even if the students accomplish an individual research or individual researches, because you ask questions from your respondents. You consult primary sources of information. People are considered primary sources of information. These are the outcomes. Okay. Before the varieties, first let's talk about the outcomes or the results, the benefits that we could derive from conducting an action research. Professional development. The more you know, the smarter you become. During the interview, you will be asked questions under the sun. If you have conducted a lot of researches, a lot of things can be said about the topic. And then you also increase your employability during the job interview. Job interview will be one of our activities in purposive communication. But I am going to discuss first uh, do's and don'ts during the job interview before I ask you interview questions. We're talking about professional development. If you know a lot of information, you are an asset to the company. How can you obtain knowledge? How can you gain knowledge? Do your research. Education change. Transformation in the field of education is possible through action research. Enhance personal awareness. You feel better about yourselves if you have explored, discovered, and sought new information. Improve practice. When we open our minds to the possibilities of unfavorable results, those unfavorable results can work to our advantage and not to our disadvantage. You know for a fact that we cannot be in a perfect institution, but we can be in an ideal environment. We can control our environment, practices, which include the strategies of the teachers, study habits of the students, materials that are utilized, policies that are implemented, and programs that are offered to the students. These things will improve if we present our research about educational institutions. Finally, we discover new things. You will not have any regret because you did not deprive yourself of valuable information. Action research comes in different forms. It's a diagnostic because we identify the problem, we observe our society, we document what we observe, we also evaluate our condition or our situation. That's diagnostic. So an action research is diagnostic if it describes existing problem and suggests possible solutions. It's participatory because even the researchers can serve as respondents to the study. Active participation of those who have things to do with the research paper is required. It's empirical. It must be experienced. You cannot ask someone to do it for you. You document all your observations. And those observations will attest that you have involved yourself in the process of research. It's experimental. We try new knowledge. It shows the greatest potential for the advanced scientific knowledge since it can provide, under favorable circumstances, a definitive test of specific hypotheses. How do we state our hypothesis? There is a significant difference between the assessments of the teachers. There is no significant difference between the assessments of the new teachers. You can only test those specific hypotheses if you utilize experimental method in your action research. You see now the different action research models. You notice that I did not write anything here because that will be your assignment. Your assignment is to, let me show your assignment. Okay, here. I know you can see it. You have 6 days and 9 hours to complete your assignment. Illustrate and describe the 10 research models. Please illustrate and describe research models. Okay, let's continue. So far, you don't have questions? You understand everything? When we say illustrate, you provide images, huh? No questions, students? No questions? Can we continue? Let's continue. Okay. So these are the steps that need to be undertaken when you work on your research
Organized data.
or your research paper on your action research. Identify a problem area, collect and organize data, interpret the data, take action based on results, and share findings. Okay, first, you have to know what the problem is. I assume that you considered problems that you encounter every day in when you presented your research problem. Collect and organize data, consult primary, secondary, and electronic sources of information. Now, if you already have the review of related literature and studies, you create an instrument and ask your target respondents to fill out your questionnaire. In collecting and organizing data, what do? You consult primary, secondary, and electronic sources of information. After which, you ask your respondents to fill out your questionnaire. You tally your questionnaire with the help of, okay, you tally your questionnaire, the survey tool, the responses, you tally the responses in your questionnaire. You also use an appropriate statistical tool, after which you present your analysis and interpretation of data. You analyze and interpret data. After interpreting the data, you provide solution to the problem. That is the main goal of research. What is your recommendation? You have identified the problem. Sources of information were gathered. Data were analyzed and interpreted accordingly. The next step is to think of a solution to the problem. If these are your problems and your findings, what is the best thing to do? What will you do? What action can you recommend? Okay, what recommendation can you express? Then if you already have the complete data, you share the data to the management or your target beneficiaries. So those are the steps. This illustrates the linear feature of an action research. Questions? Questions, students?
Ano po?
And, okay, next. My apologies again. I don't think I can ask them to stop. That is a practice of their religious affiliation. Okay. Okay, how are you going to write the research problems? These are specific questions. At Arellano University, we formulate questions. But in other institutions, they express the research problems in declarative format. So it can either be in declarative or it can either be in declarative or interrogative format. Example of declarative format in phrase form, profile of the respondents. Sorry, profile of the respondents.
Iya, ROE. Wala akong mahiring. Lalabutan. Tambak. Bukat. Deadline kabubuhayan. Kalaksihan.
Okay, that is in phrase form. In the interrogative format, what is the profile of the
Memorize ko doon tanong ko for some research. Hindi ko kalimut ako introduction, page introduction.
what is the profile of the respondents? So it can either be in declarative or interrogative format. I will explain the guidelines in writing the research questions. Just in case you would like others to present their research, if you are in a company, you don't ask them to present the entire research proposal. You start with the review of related literature, then the presentation of the research questions or the specific problems. The research questions or specific problems are those that will address the issues in your investigation. First, establish a clear connection between the research questions and the problem or topic. Let's say the problem is difficulties encountered by the students in. Do I sound better now, students? You cannot hear the noise anymore?
Yes po, ma'am.
My apologies in learning the English language. So that is the topic, that is the main problem. You cannot write questions such as, what do the HTM students experience? It doesn't have anything to do with your topic. Your topic is difficulties encountered by the students in learning the English language. There must be a clear connection between the research questions and the problem or topic. You always connect your question to your topic. Second, you base your research questions. I won't ask you to present the entire research paper yet or the entire proposal. The first two documents that you will submit to me, aside from the one that you have submitted already, okay, the first one, review of related literature and studies, pieces of information related to your study. Second, the research questions. Why am I asking my students to present first their materials in their research? Materials and resources in your research or review of that pertains to your review of related literature and studies. Existing published works have help you get good background knowledge. You gain better understanding of the topic if you consult primary sources of information. We can also have secondary sources, electronic sources. For electronic sources, you are not encouraged to use Wikipedia. Wikipedia can be edited by anyone, and anybody can share information online. So please don't use Wikipedia and other dubious sources that cannot be verified. If you want to know if the sources or the information is reliable, you consult at least three more sources of information, 3 or 5 sources of information. If you have literature and studies, literature is information from magazines, books, and articles, studies, theses, dissertations, investigations, and case studies. If you have RRL, I just couldn't understand why they didn't include your studies, but because studies are also valuable sources of information. If you already have a review of related literature and studies, you can gain better comprehension about the topic and it will be easier for you to formulate your questions. Formulate research questions that can arouse your curiosity and surprise you with your discoveries or findings. When my former students work on their research paper, they are still improving, but I have already informed them that there are questions which I cannot consider because those questions do not address their problem. You always go back to the main topic. If the topic is difficulties encountered, the set of difficulties encountered by the students in learning the language, the questions should be, okay, what is the level Oh, proficiency of the level of proficiency of the students in English. Okay, what is the level of proficiency of the students in English? I don't want to see questions such as, what is proficiency? This is not an acceptable question.
Nagka-uyat, naglalaw ko sa kantini, kakapugod mga pay.
That's wrong, huh? The other question that should not appear in the statement of the problem. How, sorry, how do the students
Tawag niya, di mo niya Ellie. At may dahil.
how do the students learn the language? Or what is proficiency? Those are questions that cannot be tolerated in action research. I will help you
Kami nga lalabo.
come up with good questions in your action research. Number 4, include the independent variables. The variables are those that will be measured in the study. If this is your topic, difficulties encountered by the students in learning English language, the variables are the difficulties and their performance in English language. Next, let the set of research questions or sub-problems be preceded by one question expressing the main problem of the research. This means that the introduction to your specific problems must appear before the specific questions. The purpose of the study was to determine the effect of micro-teaching interventions on the social well-being of the practice teaching students at ABC University. That is your main problem. The main problem is presented in the first paragraph or in the introductory paragraph of the statement of the problem. In the statement of the problem, you write an introductory paragraph. The first paragraph in the statement of the problem expresses the main topic. What is the main topic? The effects of micro-teaching interventions on the social well-being of the practice teaching students at the university or at ABC University. That's the main problem. What are the specific questions? What is the academic performance of the students as revealed by their midterm and final grades? What is the level of students' well-being as revealed by the social intelligence scale? What are the levels of correlation between students' academic performance from midterm and final grades and their well-being based on the social intelligence scale? I correlated the performance of the students to their well-being. The last question should express your solution to the problem. If it is an action research, the questions asked, you write your you imply the solution to the problem in your final question. The implication of the outcome or the output of your action research is presented in your last question. Based on the findings, what it proved, must observe how the student says social well-being. Take note that your last question should be the solution to the problem. Is everything clear, students? Everything's clear? Clear naman? No questions? You're still there? You're still listening?
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Yes po. Yes po, ma'am.
Uh, if this is your topic, what will be your first question? Difficulties encountered by the students in learning the English language. What can be your first question? Ano kayo pwedeng maging first question niya? Okay, your first question, let's have a drill. This is a practice exercise. Okay, what is the profile of the students in terms of, okay, first,
Good kayo.
age, second, socioeconomic status,
Puro na din niya research. Meron niya research. Hindi tumugon ako utak eh. Meron niya research.
and
I'm just trying to know you.
okay. So what is the profile of the students in terms of age, socioeconomic status, and grade in English? This is how you should have written it. Sorry, I committed an error. Age, socioeconomic status, and
Socio-economic
grade
status nga di po
in
tayo eroy.
English. That's how you write it. So that is your first question. Your second question is, how do the respondents perceive the activities in English? Okay. What else? What? Sorry.
How do the respondent perceive? Puta ina mo.
What difficulties are encountered by the students in learning the English language?
Hirap putang ina mo.
And the last question, so what did I say? How will you write your last question? Your last question should be solution to the problem. What recommendation
Motherfucker.
can be made to improve the performance of the students. Okay, what recommendation can be made to improve the performance of the students in English language? Your last question asked about improvement that can be recommended to improve the performance of the students in English language. Okay, first, what is the profile of the students in terms of age, socioeconomic status, and grade in English? Number two, how do the respondents perceive the activities in English? Number three, what difficulties are encountered by the students in learning the English language? Number four, what recommendation can be made to improve the performance of the students in English language? Let's continue. Okay, here. Avoid asking research questions that are answerable with yes or no. Example is language learning effective? You will create a survey questionnaire. You should not just prepare only two questions. That is an example of a question that is answerable with yes or no. We do not encourage students in formulating questions answerable with yes or no. Questions. Do you have questions? No questions?
Tatayin yan.
No questions?
No.
Okay, if you don't have questions, let me remind you of your, because I'm going to give the grades now. It will be then one at a time, your the holding area. Before I reveal the grades, I suggest you log into your LMS account and check yung which activities were not submitted. I also suggest you also look at the results of your examination, because I noticed that a lot of students didn't get good scores in the examination. Mga anak, that's 30% of your grade. So it could affect your grade. Para lang hindi magkabiglaan, kasi baka mamaya you're expecting that you will be given a good grade. I suggest before I reveal the grades, check first your account and try to examine your performance, evaluate your performance, and then reflect on your score in the preliminary exam. Some students, ito explain ko lang ha, kasi some students told me, Ma'am, some of the things that you have included in your examination were not discussed. Hindi po. I just paraphrase and rephrase the statements. Do not expect that I will be using the same term in your examination. And you also need to listen to our discussion, because as I explain, I assume that my students are paying attention. The items in your examination are the contents of my explanation. Para malinaw lang, sige, pakitingnan nyo muna yung you check your grades in the task and in your score in the examination, so that when I reveal the grades, there would only be a few questions. Let's do it alphabetically. Then everybody will leave the room. Don't forget your assignment, ha? It's task 5. Yung illustrate and describe. You can get illustrations from Google. You grab photos from Google or other sources, but write a short description about the research model. Illustrate and describe the research models. Okay, first, Arcano, are you here?
Yes po, ma'am.
Okay, sige. You stay. The others, you can leave. I wish you the best of everything later. I cannot reveal the grades to everyone. Nagdadasal na si John Marvin. Uh, alam niyo naman, meron naman kami ano dyan. Sige, magdasal na kayo. Basta para lang for you to be surprised, you check the learning management system. You check your account. You log into your account and look at your scores. 70% class ending, 30% major examination. Sige, I'll see you later. It will be done alphabetically. Ano kayang grade dito si John Marvin? Nagdasal eh. Mamaya malalaman. Sige, you can leave now.